I just want to do a short recap and then touch on some new information. As we know, both individuals tested negative for carbon monoxide. City Fire conducted tests and deemed scene safe for deputies to conduct their investigation. The preliminary pacemaker interrogation results were released last week, and I'll let Dr. Giral touch more specifically on those results. The gas company New Mexico, they also did an analysis of the residence, and they found one minor leak in a single burner on the kitchen stove, which was 0.33% of room air, which was pretty minute and insignificant.
What he said at this press conference is nonetheless eye-opening. Check this shit out.
For the past 20 years, my wife Evie and I have been the victims of criminal activities perpetrated by a small network of individuals who are out to destroy us personally, professionally, and financially. This network of individuals is manipulating the banking system and the criminal justice system for the purposes of sabotaging our credit and our credibility. We are not criminals, nor are we fugitives.
Gene Hackman, the legendary actor whose name is synonymous with cinematic greatness, passed away on the very day the Epstein client list was released.
Harris, the Associated Press now looking at the sheriff's search warrant and saying that according to the sheriff, Hackman was found dead on Wednesday, as I mentioned. Hackman was in a mudroom. His wife, Betsy, was found dead in the bathroom next to a space heater. The AP also reporting there was an open prescription bottle and pills scattered, as they put it, on the countertop near.
Was this a tragic coincidence or something far more sinister?
Something is off, way off. And the media are barely scratching the surface. Here's what the media won't tell you. Gene Hackman wasn't some retired millionaire kicking back in New Mexico. He was neighbors with Jeffrey Epstein. Yes, that's Epstein. And get this, he owned an island right next door to Oprah Winfrey's private island in British Columbia.
The timing has sent shockwaves through Hollywood and beyond, leaving fans and conspiracy theorists alike scrambling for answers.
I believe these actors were whacked, and I believe that many others, such as Britney Spears, Lindsay Lohan, and Mel Gibson, are being played to get at their money.
Hackman, known for his iconic roles in The French Connection and Unforgiven, had lived a quiet life away from the glitz and scandal of Hollywood. But his sudden death, coupled with the explosive release of the Epstein list, has sparked a firestorm of speculation.
All right, Popeye's here.
Bill, well, I thought that you were dead.
Hell, I even thought I was dead. Till I found out it was just that I was in Nebraska. He saved my life. 30 years ago, I was 9.
Could Hackman have been silenced to prevent him from revealing something earth-shattering?
Hello? Hello, Mr. Evangelista? Yes, this is Harry Call from upstairs. Yes, well, thank you very much. Thank you. Uh-huh. Yes, well, you're really very nice. Yes. But I know,
The internet is ablaze with theories, with many pointing to the eerie timing as evidence of foul play. Hackman's death wasn't just a loss for the film industry. It was a moment that raised more questions than answers.
Fugitives from justice, nor are we crazy. We are simply artists and filmmakers who are being racketeered on. We believe there are to be a malignant tumor of star whackers in Hollywood. How many people do you know personally who have died suddenly and mysteriously in the past 5 years? I have personally known 8 actors, all of whom...
Was this the work of shadowy power brokers determined to keep their secrets buried? Before we dive into this explosive story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for the latest updates and jaw-dropping revelations. You won't want to miss what's coming next.
Wrote it all down and saved it. That doesn't exist. I compiled the list the way any real journalist should. It's from the victims' own mouths. It's from internal emails between Epstein and his clients boasting about what they did. It's from the court documents and the quiet settlements with hush money delivered by his lawyer, Darren Endyke. It's from massive payments to Epstein-run LLCs by the same people, normally through Les Wexner's fronts. And it's from testimony of his staff, bodyguards, chefs, drivers, pilots, desk girls, etc. It's from the positions he was given as a trustee, consultant, board member for organizations where he...
The release of the Epstein client list was supposed to be a moment of reckoning, a chance to expose the powerful figures who had frequented the disgraced financier's infamous parties.
With the stroke of a pen, he committed to declassifying the files concerning the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a decision not just monumental, but pivotal. It is with profound honor that I have been entrusted by Speaker Mike Johnson and Chairman James Comer to lead the House Oversight Task Force on Declassification of Federal Secrets. Together with the help of the White House, our intelligence allies, the Department of Defense, the Department of Justice, we will be conducting investigations into the following. The assassinations of...
But as the names began to surface, it became clear that not all the truth was being revealed.
I want to talk to you about the Epstein case. I have worked on this for years, trying to get those records of who flew on Epstein's plane and who helped him build this international human trafficking, sex trafficking ring. Now, earlier I urged then Chairman Durbin to subpoena those records, and I ended up being blocked by Senator Durbin and Christopher Wray. They stonewalled on this, and I know that breaking up these trafficking rings is important to President Trump.
The list included politicians, billionaires, and Hollywood elites, but some names were conspicuously absent. Was the list edited before it reached the public?
This will make you sick. 200 victims, 200. So we have over 250 actually. So we have to make sure that their identity is protected and their personal information. But other than that, I think tomorrow, the personal information of victims. Other than that, I think tomorrow, Jesse, breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released by my office.
What kind? Are we going to see who was on the flights? Are we going to see any evidence from what he recorded? Because he had all of his homes wired with recording devices.
Yeah. What you're going to see, hopefully tomorrow, is a lot of flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information, but it's pretty sick what that man did.
Okay, well,
along with his co-defendant.
Absolutely.
Many believe so, pointing to the mysterious disappearance of key documents and witnesses over the years. The Epstein case has always been shrouded in secrecy, and the release of the list only deepened. Gene Hackman's name was nowhere to be found on the list, but that hasn't stopped speculation. With over 50 years in Hollywood, Hackman had connections to some of the most influential figures in the industry. Could he have known something that wasn't meant to be public?
We come to a very common theme in this series, which is the departure of a parent and its effect on both the person and ultimately on the artist. How old were you when your father left?
Well, my dad left us when I was about 13, I guess.
Was it easy, hard?
No, it was tough. Yeah.
Tough. Mm. I've read that there was a sort of casual wave goodbye.
Yeah, I was down the street playing with some guys, and he drove by and kind of waved, and
that was it. But you saw him occasionally, presumably.
Gene Hackman was no stranger to the inner workings of Hollywood. Over his decades-long career, he had worked with directors, producers, and actors who are now suspected of having ties to Epstein.
Were you in the service yourself?
Yeah, I was in the Marines.
Yeah.
I'd gone in when I was 16.
What were the circumstances leading up to the decision a 16-year-old kid makes about going into the Marine Corps for you?
I couldn't get laid, and...
I couldn't either, but I thought maybe...
While there's no direct evidence linking Hackman to the scandal, his proximity to power has raised eyebrows.
Look at me. Why don't you take a fucking look at this? So you might as well pack up your bags and head your ass on back up north where you belong. Where'd it go? And you get this straight, shit kicker. Don't you go mistaking me for some whole other body.
Wait. A toast for long friendship.
According to an anonymous source, Hackman had recently expressed concerns about dark forces controlling Hollywood. He reportedly told a friend, "Some things are better left unsaid, but sometimes the truth has to come out."
Timing of his death. Word on the streets, well, from friends he confided in, was that Gene was gearing up for a comeback. Not to act, but to talk. He told people he was ready to step out of retirement and spill the beans on what he called the memory holing of the Epstein scandal. He knew things that could crack the case wide open, even if rogue FBI agents torched the files. And
these cryptic words have fueled speculation that Hackman may have been sitting on a bombshell revelation.
There's a tradition in tournament play to not talk about the next step until you've climbed the one in front of you. I'm sure going to the state finals is beyond your wildest dreams, so let's just keep it right there. Forget about the crowds.
If Hackman did possess sensitive information, it would explain why his death coincided with the release of the Epstein list. Was he planning to expose something that powerful figures wanted to keep hidden? The timing is too perfect to ignore.
Turned from people medicine to dog medicine, specifically fenbendazole.
My insurance company spent $1.2 million on me with traditional means before I switched to a $5 a week medicine. It actually saved me.
get 15% off using coupon code People's Voice at the checkouts. Please click the link below this video or call 256-664-4170 to take advantage of this fantastic offer. Early reports of Gene Hackman's death contained shocking details. Claims of a satanic cult operating in Santa Fe tied to Epstein, liberal elites, and ritualistic murders. But within hours, those reports vanished, scrubbed from the internet. Why? According to an FBI source, this satanic cult is the missing piece of the puzzle. It connects Hackman to Jeffrey Epstein and his network of elite VIPs, including the Clintons.
In the days following Gene Hackman's shocking death, an unsettling discovery was made. Several of his personal records had mysteriously vanished. These weren't just random files or miscellaneous notes. They were meticulously kept documents, personal letters, and even a hard drive that Hackman frequently used. The sudden disappearance of these items has only deepened the suspicion surrounding his untimely passing.
Real fine beef you got there, Sonny. Count him out, Joe. Come on.
He's a pet.
You go home and fatten up another one for me, here.
Do you want to buy a goat?
Hackman was known for his precise record keeping. Throughout his career, he documented conversations, industry dealings, and even kept a personal log of interactions that he believed were noteworthy.
Do you ever wonder why it should have happened to you? Because you're not really in the kind of pretty mold of Robert Redford of the superstar, are you?
I don't know. I thought I was.
Perhaps you're not quite as pretty as Robert Redford. Do you think that the average American, for instance, identifies with you more than he does?
If these documents were important enough for him to preserve, then their absence suggests an orchestrated effort to erase crucial evidence. Who had access to his home after his passing? Why were only certain materials taken?
Somebody wants the truth buried with him.
I told you they were going to burn the Epstein case files, and I told you people were going to start disappearing. Gene Hackman didn't die by accident. It wasn't a coincidence. Him and his wife taken out together. No, that was a message. He knew too much. Lived too...
The most chilling detail, however, came from an investigative journalist who had been in close contact with Hackman in his final weeks. According to the journalist, Hackman had sent a highly sensitive email just hours before his death.
How about playing Lex Luthor in Superman? You enjoy playing the baddie?
It's great fun. I must say, it's like a license to steal. Almost anything you do is going to be okay because he's a kind of a flamboyant character and deranged and all the things that actors love to play.
It's the best.
But when attempts were made to retrieve it, no record of it could be found. Had it been intercepted, deleted remotely, the mere possibility that someone could have wiped out his final communications points towards something far more sinister than mere coincidence.
Close to the truth. Hackman wasn't one of Epstein's sick playmates. He was a neighbor down there near that ranch in New Mexico. He saw things he wasn't supposed to. The late-night jets, the bonfires lighting up the desert, the screams carried on the wind. He knew about the client list, names that'd make your stomach turn. Politicians, CEOs, royalty. He knew why the FBI is burying it all right now, torching files faster than you can blink.
If Hackman had indeed uncovered explosive information about the Epstein network or Hollywood's hidden power structures, the vanishing documents could mean one thing. Someone wanted to ensure that whatever he knew would never reach the public eye.
When the bodies of Gene Hackman, his wife and one of their dogs were found last week at their home in Santa Fe, it was unclear what circumstances had led to their deaths.
Santa Fe 911, what is it? Is it emergency?
Investigators have been piecing together the couple's movements. They now say they believe his wife, Betsy Arakawa, had died around a week before him.
It's not uncommon to find someone down on the floor as part of a terminal collapse, so to speak, and that may very well have been what happened to Miss Hackman.
Test results showed she'd contracted a rare virus called hantavirus, which can be transmitted from animals to humans and can be fatal. And that Gene Hackman died a week later of cardiovascular problems.
The question was he aware that Miss Hackman had died? And I think that question's difficult to answer, but I can tell you that he was in an advanced state of Alzheimer's, and it's quite possible that he was not aware that she was deceased.
Gene Hackman's death does not exist in a vacuum. His mysterious passing is yet another entry in a long and troubling history of individuals who died under suspicious circumstances after uncovering inconvenient truths. This pattern has repeated itself too many times to ignore.
In 1996, investigative journalist Gary Webb wrote a series of stories exposing the connection between the CIA and the crack cocaine that was being sold in South Central Los Angeles during the 1980s. These stories caused outrage everywhere, but the government...
Consider investigative journalist Gary Webb, who exposed the CIA's involvement in drug trafficking, only to be found dead in what was officially ruled a suicide, despite 2 gunshot wounds to the head.
And the journalist Michael Hastings has died at the age of 33. Hastings was killed in a car crash in Los Angeles early Tuesday morning. Reporting extensively from Iraq and Afghanistan, Hastings' widely read stories showed the grim realities of war. His 2010 Rolling Stone article on General Stanley McChrystal, the U.S. commander in Afghanistan, sparked a political controversy after McChrystal and his aides were quoted making disparaging remarks about top administration officials. The article exposed long-standing disagreements between civilian and military officials over the war's direction and led to General McChrystal.
Or Michael Hastings, a journalist whose reporting shook the political elite, only for his car to explode in a highly suspicious crash. These names join a growing list of individuals whose deaths conveniently prevented further revelations.
A registered sex offender who made a fortune as a hedge fund manager in the 1980s and 90s, known for his lavish lifestyle and high-profile connections. Jeffrey Epstein is facing new allegations that he exploited dozens of young girls for sex.
Victims were given cash payments if they could bring other underage girls to be similarly abused. And that's how he continued to expand the number of new victims.
And then, of course, there's Jeffrey Epstein himself. Despite being one of the most high-profile prisoners in the country, he allegedly managed to take his own life under circumstances so questionable that even mainstream voices expressed doubt.
Yes, Alzheimer's disease is really, it's a terrible disease, and this is, as you so appropriately put it, really a sad and tragic story. People with Alzheimer's disease, particularly, they said that he had late-stage Alzheimer's disease, might not really be very much aware of what is going on around them. He probably might not have known even how to use the telephone, where the telephone was. It's very likely that he probably was wandering around the house. He probably didn't know how to cook anymore or how to feed himself. And he might not even known who his wife was at that time. If in very late stages, people can not.
Security cameras malfunctioned, guards fell asleep, and the few people who could have testified against his network conveniently disappeared or remained silent.
Yesterday, Michelle Trachtenberg was found unresponsive in her apartment. On the same exact day, Gene Hackman and also his wife and dog were found dead in his home in Santa Fe. And now, authorities have ruled his death and his wife's death as suspicious, and they're currently investigating the circumstances. And we'll get into the details.
Hackman's death fits this pattern nearly well. If he was sitting on information that could have exposed key figures involved in Epstein's circle, then eliminating him before he could go public would be the most effective way to ensure the truth never surfaced. The bigger question now is, who benefits the most from his silence?
Questions over how the wife of Oscar-winning actor Gene Hackman was sickened by the rare but deadly hantavirus. The medical examiner revealed that she died from hantavirus, which is usually transported by rodent feces. What's it like to have it? We spoke with the teenager who knows firsthand, Stephen Fabian, on what she learned that could keep others safe.
The shocking revelation that Gene Hackman's wife died from hantavirus has people scared that they could also contract the deadly virus caused by rodents. This 14-year-old says she caught the hantavirus possibly while sweeping the floor in a cabin at summer camp. It started with a headache, fever, and difficulty breathing. Evie Hermansley was rushed to Cincinnati Children's Hospital where her heart stopped for 9 minutes. Despite a high mortality rate of up.
Following Hackman's death, there was an eerie quiet from the industry. While some colleagues shared generic condolences, there was a noticeable absence of specific details about his later years or what he'd been working on. No one seemed eager to talk about him in depth.
To 50%, Evie survived. I spoke to Evie and her dad, Ryan, today. How sick did you feel? How scary was all this?
It was really scary. I was in a coma. So, waking up and being told everything that had happened was mind-blowing.
This silence speaks volumes. It suggests an industry that knows more than it's willing to admit. If Hackman was indeed planning to expose something, then others in Hollywood likely knew about it. And if that's the case, their silence could be the result of fear of retaliation, fear of losing their careers, or worse.
Trouble, shortness of breath. My thinking wasn't real clear. I started developing really severe back pain and neck pain.
The 59-year-old says she was rushed to the hospital and flatlined 3 times.
I was in a coma. I didn't know everything that was happening to me. All my organs failed.
The news of Gene Hackman's wife dying from the hantavirus is hitting her especially hard.
So sad.
Hollywood has long been governed by unspoken rules. Those who go against the grain, who challenge the wrong people, who speak out of turn, often find themselves blacklisted, ridiculed, or in some cases, mysteriously gone. The lack of vocal tributes to Hackman suggests that people are treading carefully, avoiding saying too much, perhaps out of concern for their own safety. The question remains, will someone have the courage to break the silence? Or will Hackman's truth die with him?
Jeffrey Epstein files, we're told, are to be imminently unleashed, and already we saw the Attorney General Pam Bondi say that the scale of what happened is far worse than anyone realized. Well over 200, maybe 250 victims, and that we're going to get information either later today or tomorrow.
Gene Hackman's death remains shrouded in mystery, but one thing is clear. His story is far from over. Whether he was planning to expose something or simply a victim of circumstance, his passing has raised questions that demand answers.
Really a bizarre story. So what we are hearing from police in New Mexico is that Gene Hackman and his wife were found dead in their home along with their dog, who was also found deceased. Now, police are telling us that
the truth may be hidden, but it never truly disappears. As long as people continue to ask questions and seek answers, there's hope that Hackman's secrets and the full truth about the Epstein scandal will one day come to light. What do you think about Gene Hackman's mysterious death and his connection to the Epstein list? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more explosive revelations.